You know what the problem with your daughter is?
Bombing.
Trade keeps opening up these doors. The EPA is as crooked as any of the people she's meant to.
I understand that. But they do find people and pocket the money wherever they pocket it.
I know the general counsel of the federal EPA. I mean, we got to do a program about her. I don't think that the federal EPA is going to do anything. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Oh, I understand that. But those are he was taken to court for this. My paper, again, is following up on this. The Suburban Life did not run no story about it.
Your newspaper, your community that you cover likes your paper, right?
The residents love it. The politicians hate me. And if you were on the feature in my paper on a regular basis, and I caught you doing things and compromising, dollars and cents, you'd hate me too.
If somebody calls you, or comes to your newspaper office, whatever, says, hey, I live in this community, and this thing has been going on.
We take those complaints on a daily basis, and we run those stories. We investigate those stories. It doesn't matter who's involved, who the questionable person is that we're speaking of. I don't care if it's the mayor, trustees, anybody. If it wasn't for your paper, they still would be here. David's outside.
There's a book came out early in the century, long before any of us were born, by George Seldes, who died at the age of 104, called Tell the Truth and Run. He told a terrible truth early in the 20th century, which is still true, that the print media and now the other media get some of the ads by shakedown. In other words, they send the reporter out to write a story, but the story is never to be published. They make 3 copies of it, and they show it to the would-be advertiser. He says, hey, this 13-week contract that we want you to have, give it to us, otherwise we're going to run this story. That's
not unheard of.
Is that a fair...
That's not unheard of.
Is that a fair criticism of the media as you understand it?
Yes, I believe that occurs, but not here. I'm not really interested.
Not in your paper, but what about some of... tell us your opinions, whatever, Do you believe that there's some other suburban or major papers do stuff like that?
Oh, definitely. Dollars and cents come from the advertisers. That's what makes a newspaper run. It's not... They play with numbers on the readership and how many, are
so you really believe that some of your competitors would send a reporter out, just not to really do anything, but just to work on a story, is, hey, you don't want the story to run, sign the contract for ads. Do you believe that happens?
I have not seen personally, but I have heard stories like this. I've heard the horror stories.
So you believe that happens?
Yes, I do.
What are some of the other problems of running a small paper that tries to tell the truth? What are some of the other problems?
You put up with so much criticism, and you put up with a lot of... by the politicians. The politicians could have so much power over the town, it doesn't make any difference what kind of business that you're in. They'll come in, and they will shut you down if they don't like the fact that you're putting ads in the paper. They can shut your newspaper down just by going after your advertisers.
And doing what?
And threatening them. Do not take ads out in this paper. They wrote a story about me, and that's a no-no. And that's why the other newspapers in the suburban areas are in their place. They know what line not to cross, because if they do, they know what's going to happen to them.
Do you understand from running a paper that this must be the same system that they do not to put stories like your father as a court victim?
That's why it's never been run.
Your aunt with this document, it really bugs me, because that document proves that your aunt was harassed. She wasn't a witness or a party to the thing, and they harassed her. Why? Because they were fearful that your aunt, the FBI agent assigned to the Treasury, understood corruption and was starting to dig into this Judge William.
She was digging. She was getting an investigation going. She was
despite the fact that she was coming on with illness.
That scared them. They don't want outsiders looking at this case. They want to be like the crooks hiding behind the bushes. They don't want outsiders.
She's stepping over her bounds doing it.
She's definitely not going to be on their side. She's going to be on the side of my father and my mother.
Does that explain why some victims call me up? They say, Skolnick, and that's like with your mother. I wrote to all of them. Your mother sent me a list that long.
You name it, I wrote it.
Janet Reno, every crooked politician, from the bottom to the top of the government, your mother spent the postage.
Yes.
Why is this? Is there something fundamentally wrong with our government, or what's going on?
Nobody polices these people. Nobody. They're not going to. They're not going to print anything because
in
they
a way
don't
they
believe
are
that.
gods. There's nobody that's going to tell them that they can't do this or do that. They make up their own laws. They're above the law. They think. But they got to realize
After
that
a while,
there's
I
people out there.
suppose you, Kim, as a, you and your husband that run this newspaper, I bet the two of you could write a book about what it takes to try to be candid and honest and run a small suburban paper, right?
I can write 5 books.
Tell us some more things before we run out of time. Tell us some more things.
Well, this is a free newspaper, and we do cover 18,000 people. What happens if you turn around and you stopped telling the truth? My mother's case never gets heard. I have printed stories from even New York from people that have written to me.
Yeah, I saw that.
Needing in need of some press on certain subjects, on judges, on court cases. Doris Sassower, for instance. What was the newspaper that would not print her article?
In New York, yeah, I saw
New
that.
York Post.
But,
Yes.
but Kim, from what you understand about the press, that you learn directly, why do all these other press outlets that your mother contacted to try to get some help for your father as a court victim, how come none of them responded?
Fear.
Of what? Tell us, Linda.
They're afraid of reprisal. You got to go before the federal broadcasting system. Your license is to be taken away from you if you don't do what you're told to do.
I don't believe
Like,
that.
for instance, the magistrates. The lawyers. They're puppets for these people. They tell them what they do and they end and
In the
change.
remaining minutes,
They got no courage. They're cowards.
can we say something positive that the people viewing us might do? Here, some people get melancholy. They hear all this, and they throw up their hands and says, oh,
There's nothing I can do. But you know what? There's a lot people can do.
Yeah, tell us, what?
The power of one, for instance.
The power of the
I mean,
show, for one.
If people would get together, and with the internet you can do that. If people would get together and have a rally, they would make the Million Man March look like a pep rally from the people that were screwed by the system. I mean,
There's
so
many. There's so many.
You're aware of that.
I am. I've been written
Just by people
to. I'm
like
aware of that.
And Doris Sassower, she went on one program. It was called Bad Judgment. It was from Curtis
It was
Enterprises.
about bad judges.
And these people, she was deluged with people sending her papers, including me. I did the same thing. Sending her papers looking for help.
We ended up helping her because I ended up printing her
Because
articles.
there was no place for them to go. There is no place to
No,
go.
it's until you told us about it and we began piecing it together, you didn't realize that Henry Hyde is part of this problem.
Henry Hart is part of everybody's problem. He's part of everything. I believe he's the piece of the puzzle. that was
He
being
supervises all the federal judges.
Exactly. That's right.
And your mother goes and sends the chief crook a letter.
Well, at the time, we didn't know.
We didn't
that
know. So he said, I said, you dummy. I said it to the damn political clout.
I know.
My letter. He's going to really give it back to me. He did. He stepped on my
All
feet.
right, but what else? What else can the public? We don't want to get the public melancholy. What can we do?
They can write to the congressman. They can fight to get
Henry Hyde is a
these judges
congressman.
elected into office.
They need to be elected into office. They cannot be put in.
By being appointed, their alliances to these politicians that are crooks and give all the corporations the money that they give them the benefits.
There you go.
Using them damn credit. They got a lot of nerve to keep their jobs because nobody can stop
You
them.
know something, Linda for Congress. You
I
make
think
a-
Linda from Congress.
Listen, if I have to put a little pep tent up there,
Yeah.
and sit there till we get our rights, we're going to
what
get
else,
them.
Kim?
They owe us about $375,000, and we're going to get them.
Yeah, okay, but Linda, yeah, his case has got to be reopened. It's corrupt. But what else, Kim, needs, in your judgment, needs to be
There
done?
needs to be more shows like this, outlining what has been done to people. The press won't put it in their papers. They'll
Where's
keep
the
it shut because
ACLU?
they're told.
Where are the ACLU? They're for your rights. They murdered our rights.
One of the things that people can do, I have a listed address, 9800 South Oglesby, Chicago, Illinois, 60617. Victims of injustice know that, I'm always open to listening to you. That's why we brought this family unit on this program, to educate people. In a way, I'm sorry to tell you what we discussed today is not that unusual.
Well, Mr. Skolnick, I would like to invite people to also write to me with anything that they have that is of interest.
Where to?
It's Lyons, Illinois, 8225 West 45th Street, 60534, and it's in Lyons, Illinois. And they can write in care of Kim Gellert, Gellert, Village News.
And you do what you can as one of
But
the
I
smaller
will
papers.
promise that I will print the facts on any and investigate anything that I find that
In other words,
is right.
if the press were not so crooked and cowardly we wouldn't have these problems.
No, the press needs to get involved in it so people know.
Your parents would have a place to go to. If there was a...
And everybody would be shocked.
They're getting away with this
about
because
it. Everybody
nobody
would be shocked.
knows. There's not enough people. People would be outraged if they knew exactly how many people
Even if you
had
think it's
had
only you,
situations
it's
like
only
this.
happening to you,
Yeah,
but it's happening
Kim,
to everybody.
Understand something. Public access is a non-commercial medium. We don't work for anybody.
Correct.
We have no sponsors, nor do we want any. Because if we did, some bank in Cicero or someplace, one of those crooked banks would tap me on the shoulder and say, "Shut up!"
Yes.
In fact, this
That's exactly the same situation I'm under.
This program would never go on the air, but it would get, you know what I mean? It would get squelched. So